You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Monday. Time to commence another broadcast week here on the old Options Insider Radio Network. Could be a wild one, so strap in. A lot of crazy events popping off over the weekend. We'll get to all of that stuff and a whole bunch more in a little bit. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the OptionsInsider.com, as well as from the network upon which everyone has been binging and mainlining. Hope you had a chance to check out the one-of-a-kind Vol Death match, even though folks are angling to get cracks at that as well, so there might be more to come down the road. Of course, you wanted to get that early and, of course, participate in it, ask questions, and vote for the winner, as well as get our awesome pro Q&As. You like Vol? We had Scott Nations in there last week. Awesome shows like Options Oddities. Little Birdie telling me we might have our buddy Mr. Oracle of New Hampshire joining us for a little Options Oddities this week, and he always gets wild with funky put calendars, and you name it. All sorts. So he's always comes armed with his own wild activity. So you want to see what that is and how some of the trades we've been talking about there have been performing. He had a bunch of trades he put on last time we could pay off. Only one place to find out. The optionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. As we learn who's joining us on the old OB program today, we go out first to the hinterlands of Chicago, where we are joined by the uncleist of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, as well as to the shores of Maine, where we are joined by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. I don't even bother tossing to them, listeners, because they wouldn't even hear me. They are focused. They are zeroed in on the buzzer. I have the golden ticket in my hand. Who will win the point today? Let's find out. It is time for the 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. The 80s Trivia Challenge is upon us. I have selected a card from the authentic 1980s Blue Box Trivial Pursuit. So not a trivia question about the 80s as much as it is a trivia question written in the 80s. Nonetheless, that's what was requested. So we are giving the audience and giving the contestants what they want here. All right. As our resident loser here on the show right now, which as our math totals, he is down by exactly 4 points. The total as of today, 7.5 for the Rock Lobster, 3.5 for the uncleist of Mike's. That's a whooping 4 points. Uncle Mike hasn't scored a full point since March 17th. So he is over 3 months in arrears. He needs to make up some ground. Mr. Uncle Mike, are you going to stick with the sports and leisure that has dug you into this abyss? Or are you going to change your mind, sir? What's going on today?
I'm going to stick with the sports and leisure and just hope I don't get wrist wrestling or figure skating.
All right. You're going to dance with the one that brung you, even if they brung you into a car wreck at 2 a.m. All right, here we go. Sports and leisure for today. Gentlemen, get your hands on your buzzers. I will make sure I have the chat open as well so I could see exactly who is first. All right, here we go. Sports and leisure. What sport is central to Hemingway's Death in the Afternoon?
Buzz.
All right, go for it.
Bullfighting.
Oh, wow. The Rock Lobster.
Oh my gosh.
I was leaning that way, but I didn't want to say anything.
There is only one sport with Hemingway.
That's true.
It is bullfighting.
He is the most manly, only the manliest
there
of sports.
There has never been a manlier man.
1 point for the Rock Lobster.
Oh my gosh.
For Hemingway's manly bullfighting. By my math, sir, that brings you up to 8.5 points now. Uncle Mike just, I don't know. Uncle Mike, is your buzzer on? Are you sure it's all working?
You know what? This is just how Tosaw felt when we were talking about 80s wrestling. All I know is this feeling I have of invincibility and victory. This is what he felt like for years. No wonder why he was always in a good mood.
You could literally lose every week for like a month and a half, Mr. Rock Lobster, and pretty much just be about tied. You know, maybe you'd be down a point if you got a full point every time. So yeah, you got quite the commanding lead. Uncle Mike, you got some work to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Trivial Pursuit.
The chat is urging you to move away from your, some might say, suicidal orange strategy, sir. But hey, to each their own. Did you get that one, listeners? Hemingway bullfighting. That one, I think, was pretty. How many sports did Hemingway really talk about outside of bullfighting? He seemed like he had a fixation on that. As we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down what the heck is trading. We see what the markets are fixated on today. And coming into the start of the show, surprise, surprise, they are fixated on really only one thing, the geopolitical events that occurred over the weekend. It's not every day that we bomb a sovereign nation, let alone a nation like Iran that has lived off the mantra of death to America for pretty much as long as I've been alive out there. So the entire world kind of held its breath collectively as the news came across the tape over the weekend that we had indeed hit Iran. No accident. I don't think that it was done on a Saturday night as far away from the opening bell of the markets as you can get out there. And when the futures opened last night, it wasn't really the dire death toll that many had expected. We've talked about this for a while now. If past is prologue, a lot of these Mideast shocks, now granted, this one's a little bit different. It's not just one Middle East player hitting another one. It is us getting directly involved, which is a different game entirely. So you may argue maybe throw the playbook out for this one. But if you follow the traditional playbook, as we talked about last week on the show, you fade these vol spikes and you go for the rally to the equities and the fade, of course, in vol. And that seems to be how we were playing out today. We were pretty firmly in the green after starting out kind of mixed. The S&P was rallying back north of the 6,000 level. Let's see, how high did we get? We got up to about 6,005, or it actually looks a little higher, maybe. Yeah, we got around the 6,005 level or so. Coming back down below it now. The market's kind of vacillating between green and red right now. As we're kicking off the show again, the S&P is back right around the 59 3/4 level, so about 25 handles below that 6,000 level, still up about 0.15%. So we are back into green across the full spectrum again after being mixed to actually red a little bit before the show started. The Dow up only slightly at 0.05%, NASDAQ up 0.2%. So you know what that means. It's another one of those markets, listeners, where if you don't like what's happening, just wait 5 minutes because we are back in that zone firmly. That means our old buddy VIX Cash firming up a bit, 21.5 points. It's up 2.25 points. Remember, that might sound like a lot, but we weren't on last Thursday. Obviously, markets closed last Thursday, so this is going all the way back to the Monday show. VIX Cash up 2.25 points. VVIX 109 up 7 points. So we're looking at a firmer market in the vol side, even if we are looking at a little bit of upside drift, it seems, for right now in the old equity markets. We'll see how things are going. Looking at some of our chat, A, they're stunned that Uncle Mike went with orange again. B, I also see some folks looking to overwrite or just sell some of their SVIX. Yeah, we were talking about this on Vol Views last week, and I think Dr. Vix was talking about this last week, but maybe 2 weeks ago, how he bailed on his SVIX. I think the Rock Lobster said last week that he indeed also had washed his hands. I think he said he would sell puts on the 10 strike or something to that effect. So a lot of folks are conspiring. I think I have some SVIX as well. We're looking to overwrite it as well. So yeah, it's one of those times. Let's say you had an opportunity earlier this morning, if you were quick out of the gate, to either bail on it or get a nice juicy overwrite in, as it seems like the vol gods are firming up a little bit, SVIX fading a little bit. We'll see if that is the case. Again, if you don't like it, just wait 5 minutes, but a lot to unpack. Mr. Rock Lobster, as our resident winner, dare I say it, potentially our new upset champion of the Trivia Challenge. Still half a year to go, but the graph is looking favorable, sir. So if we know anything and we learned anything from the crystal ball and vol views, you declare victory early and often, sir. So by all means, declare victory. And then B, what's catching your eye? And what were your thoughts as the bombs were dropping this weekend?
Well, as I recall, I could be wrong about this, but I'm sure every president in the last 30 years has dropped bombs on some country in some fashion without asking Congress first. But I could be wrong. And now that I'm almost the trivia champion, I'm going to say I am not.
You can speak with authority now.
I can speak with authority.
By the way, our chat is accusing you of having bought a bunch of just orange Trivial Pursuit cards and having studied them. Any truth to those rumors, sir?
And just like speed studying them. No, I don't need any kind of some sort of false. It's like reading the test questions first. That's not very sporting. So the answer to your chat people is no, and they can all go to HE hockey sticks.
See, that should be a point deduction right there because of the fact I have never once told our audience to say such things. That is poor sportsmanship. That's a 15-yard penalty. That's at least a 1 point deduction.
Sportsmanship penalty. I like it. Well, the judges will take it into consideration.
Telling the audience, the people that make the show, the bread and butter of our existence, he just told them to go to hell.
I believe it was HE double hockey sticks, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what they come for. They come for the whooping.
They do. They come for. They come for a little bit of the blood. Look at the Vol death match. Folks like that. So, people like a little blood.
They want drama.
They do.
Want drama.
They do.
Want drama in their show. So,
oh my goodness.
So, what I would say is this was, I feel like, I think Trump did this to Syria when the Russians were there. I think he lit up their airfield, if I'm not mistaken, in 2016, relatively early into administration. I'm pretty sure Biden let a couple of drones go. Quite sure Obama let about 1,000 drones go. Let's see. I could go down the list. We all know what George W. did. Clinton was active as well, I believe, in Bosnia Herzegovina or whatever it is. So U.S. presidents have not been afraid to project their power. However, I would say I was surprised at this, and I hope it goes well, but I personally did not want to see an escalation of U.S. involvement. If you want to give Israel like money to kind of do all this stuff, fly the planes, do it all, because they're the ones directly affected, I would be more inclined for that. But we got what we got, and one way or another, is the world have to worry about Iran's own capability for the next 5 years? No. Does that mean they couldn't maybe buy something from somebody else that might be friendly? Maybe. Either way, it is still a mess. And I think it's just one of those things where Iran is going to continue to push their will, and until they can't. At least historically, that's what it's been. They've funded a lot of stuff, but the world kind of waxes and wanes on it, meaning it is kind of makes a big deal to the markets for a while, then it doesn't. To the extent that it distorts world trade. Israel has proven they could defend themselves pretty well. And Iran has definitely lost some capability. So are they declining ability to project power in the region or not? We don't know. So in the short term, nobody knows, which is why VIX is only down 4 cents today. Although it's a Monday, so it's down a little bit. SPY is up. If their big answer is lobbing a couple of missiles into the airbase at Qatar, anyway, it is unfortunate. It is sad all the way around. But as far as our markets go, they don't want to leave 6,000. You have to, the thing from a market point of view is, traders are still willing to pay close to all-time highs for the S&P 500. Now, granted, that's with the VIX at almost 21 and not 13 or 14. But that's the markets that we have. We still have, unsettled issues in, with the budget, with interest rates, the Fed's not cutting. So now the market knows that. So we were on a way to basically kind of what I would say volatility, probably 16s, 15s for a while. And now it's up here. But there is still appetite for buying stocks. I mean, ultimately, if we're not selling off, we are rallying. And everybody you look at that and you have to say, that's what it is. As difficult as the Middle East stuff goes, I believe ultimately this is taking more uncertainty out of the region. I feel like for Israel and the U.S. to do this, they probably got some kind of quiet backing from, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all those kind of what I would call like the more commercial Mideastern states, Dubai, that whole hub there, Kuwait. They're just interested. They're not so much in the crazy fundamentalist terrorist stuff, more just, kind of running countries. So at least that's how it appears currently. So I would say since this has been done, the market was kind of worried that it might happen. It's now happened. That's one less thing that can happen. So, but the fallout of it is still, I believe, unclear. Like how far does Iran go to the mattresses on this? It's kind of like The Godfather. I feel like Israel is like, we took care of our family business today. Don Corleone or Michael Corleone at the christening, that penultimate scene in The Godfather. So, at least for right now, I'm going to say I would lean on the fact that it's probably better that this has been over and done with. The Middle East will still be a little hot for a while, but there's two important things that people don't realize. One, there's 2 million Russian Jews living in Israel. The Russians might not like anything to happen to them. Just saying. Number two, China gets a lot of oil from Iran through the Strait of Hormuz. China gets a lot of oil from everybody through the Strait of Hormuz. They might not want that cut off. So you have two other states. I would call them not small states, but heavy factors, right, on the global stage, have an interest in kind of, getting things to de-escalate somewhat. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's my read of the geopolitics. Although I would say is not a guarantee that volatility goes down anytime soon. It could. What it does appear is that the market can rally a lot harder than VIX wants to go down. So I still think there's a lot more, AI potential in there. And now that, maybe some finance companies are going to do more Bitcoin stuff, there's that kind of la growth that makes people buy stocks. So anyway, it is a sad, but I find eventual state of affairs. Israel was eventually going to do something about this capability, I believe, and it is now done. So we chalk it up to history. A lot more things in history have been, let's just call it worse and more egregious than this. And my hope is that we can all move past it. There we go.
Yeah, the uproar about, Trump taking over congressional authority this weekend, that seemed odd to me because you're right. Just about every president in recent memory has done drone strikes or something else. Trump himself, people forget, a month before the pandemic kicked off in 2020, assassinated an Iranian general on the tarmac there. So, yeah, I mean, people forget about that. That kind of just got lost in the sea of the pandemic.
Became Ukraine after that.
I mean, Trump has done a lot more to usurp congressional authority this year than this. I mean, they've taken away the purse strings, everything else. I mean, this is like the least of the infractions on that front, if you're looking at it from a congressional authority perspective. But I digress. That is actually the subject of our question of the week right now, listeners, which is kind of the thing everyone's weighing, what the Rock Lobster was just talking about, which is how does the events of the weekend, how does that impact the impact of this conflict going forward? When we asked you folks last week, what will be the lasting impact? Will there really be a lasting impact? Will it be more than 30 days in terms of the vol and market impact of this conflict? Slightly more than half of you, right around 55% said yes, or obviously about 45% said no. So our new question of the week right now is, do the events of this weekend, do they change that assessment? Do they make you think, hey, there's going to be more vol on the table for longer? Or maybe you're like the Rock Lobster. You're thinking, well, the big question mark is out of the way now in terms of, will we get involved? There's obviously still other question marks of what will Iran do. But maybe for some of you, obviously for the market for a part of today, that was, a worry behind them. So let us know. That question is live right now. Just went live a few minutes ago. Uncle Mike, a lot going on in the market. Same question for you. What were you thinking as you saw these events unfold over the weekend and indeed last night when the futures were, as they kind of have done for most of these in the past, kind of shrugging this off, and today kind of doing the same, sir?
Yeah, I was guessing more movement on the futures market on Sunday night. I was thinking that because every time I looked, we were maybe like down 20. It was not a ton of movement in the futures market, and that was something that surprised me. But I guess in the modern age with which we live, markets just don't care about stuff like they once did. I think that ever since the capital kerfuffle on the inauguration 5 years ago or whatever it was, or 4 years ago, I believe, when we didn't just royally crash at that time, I really don't know if events matter to the markets like they have in years past. And so ultimately, the markets have been resilient. They continue to be resilient. The one thing that I'm seeing today that I think is kind of interesting is energy is down on the day. Prices of natural gas and crude are down on the day, as well as XLE in the energy sector. So we are getting that, but that's really the only thing red for the most. Well, I guess you should say healthcare is slightly red. But for the most part, everything else, we're getting rallies in across the board on the S&P. So energy is actually what's holding the market back from going up further. Some individual stocks that I continue to watch that I think is really, this one I think is kind of a big deal for the market, is that's good old Mr. Softy. Microsoft up almost 2% on the day, up over $8. When it's one thing if like a NVIDIA or something like that continues to go higher, but with Microsoft, that's a lot of market cap that's moving at a pretty good pace. So in terms of markets going up and doing what they do, that's kind of a big deal with where we're at, the fact that Microsoft's moving like it is. It's almost like Microsoft feels like it's the new Apple in terms of this market, which, by the way, Apple is not looking super. I shouldn't say they're flat on the day, but Apple continues to be around the 200 level. Can't seem to make a move one way or another at this point. And then in terms of getting back to the macro events, the other thing that I think we need to continue to keep an eye on, bonds are quietly rallying a little bit, so yields might be coming down a little bit. So we need to continue to keep our eye on that. Bonds are where the real money is, if you will. By real money, meaning more of it, so to speak. So we need to continue to keep an eye on that. And that's kind of what I'm seeing right now.
All right, listeners, let's keep on rolling and see what the rest of the market is fixating on out here today, listeners. Is it a hot day? Is it a spicy day from an overall options volume perspective? The answer is, again, kind of Depends where you're hanging out there in the market, listeners, what kind of day you're having. If you're hanging out in VIX, and again, we've talked about this before, context is key out there in VIX. When I tell you today's number is right around 365, you might say, not a heck of a lot. I mean, we used to see that in a few hours back, in the heady days of March or April when we had VIX averaging 1.2 or so million contracts a day. Fast forward to the start of summer, and now we are officially in summer. So out there, all you folks who are waiting, maybe you did the old sell in May trade and go away, in which case you're missing a lot of action out there. But is this official start of summer? Is this eating into the volume? Well, 3.65 million contracts on the VIX tape. Now, when I tell you that the ADV has fallen to 681,000, that might sound a little bit more respectable out there, listeners, because that's where we're hanging out right now in VIX land. The big dog out there today, 31,000 of the July 17 half puts. If you're wondering what those were going up for, listeners, I was just checking on those bad boys earlier. They're going up for 43 cents, but they're not going up naked. They're going up as part of a spread. Looks like we got a bit of a funky ratio risk reversal. Looks like it's the 35-17 half July ratio risk reversal, pretty much 1/3, almost 3.5, almost 4, because looks like I have 19,000 of the 17 half puts going up against 5,000 of the 35 calls. Looks like they've done it a total now of about 31,000 by about 14,000. So it looks like it's closer to 1/2 when you add up all the volume. But 73 cents for those out there, listeners. So interesting stuff out there. You like that, listeners? 17 half, 35 ratio. How would you be putting that on right now? Would you be selling put and buying call? Would you be doing the other way to fade the heck out of vol? I'm curious. Hit us up. Let us know. Nobody's fading SPY today. SPY is feeling hot. 7 million contracts on the tape exactly right now. So that's pretty spicy. I just ran our favorite little bit of analysis here. And yes, we are 20 for 20. All options going the way of the dodo today out there in SPY. The ADV, 8.67 million. Might get there by the end of the show, listeners. So, wow. Spicy day out there in SPY. Is it the same for the S? It'd be weird if it wasn't, right? And the answer is yes. 2.75 million, so fully a million or close to it more than we've been seeing lately this time of the day. The ADV, 3.5 million, so another one where we might get there by the end of the show. And lest us be accused of favoritism, let's run the same analysis for the S. And we are, yes, 20 for 20. Going the way of the dodo today in the S. It's got the small cap, 733,000. The ADV, 1.14 million. So they seem like they're definitely on track to hit that out there as well. And the Q's looking spicy out there today as well. 2.93 million contracts on the tape already. The ADV is 3.7 million out there, listeners. That's another one where we could hit that by the end of the day. Let's go out to the single names, listeners. Is it equally spicy? Is it equally wild out there? The answer is surprisingly no. I guess everyone on these macro days, that we've seen this in the past sometimes, where everyone gets focused on the macro and the big indexes and on vol, and single names kind of fall by the wayside. Seems to be the case today. Only cost you 234 to break into the top 10. I think you could easily expect 100,000 more than that. But not today, listeners. 234 on the tape. That gets you to super microcomputer, aka SMCI. 42.5 off 280, or a little over 6% today. And the number 10 spot, number 9, we're going to the land of the Amazons. 303 on the tape for the Amazonians, number 9. A rounding error for them today, up 2 cents. A 209.70 is where they're hanging out right now. So kind of unched on the day, for good enough for the number 9 spot, listeners, for the Amazonians. Number 8, our old pal Alphabet Class A. That's usually a sign of a sleepy day, but we'll see. Lately, things have been popping off in there. Number 8, Alphabet, 343 on the tape. 164.30 off 340, or about exactly 2%. Good for the number 8 spot. It's Alphabet. Number 7, Palantir, going the other way. 139.5, up 2 1/4, about 1 2/3% for Palantir. And the number 7 spot, pretty low actually for Palantir, listeners, only coming in at number 7. Number 6, we're going out to the land of Circle Internet Group. Ticker symbol Circle, CRCL. This has been kind of all the rage out there in stable coin land, and of course, driving some action in other names like Coinbase and others. Is this a watershed moment in crypto? I guess we'll get to this maybe a little bit later on the crypto rundown. Either way, welcoming Circle Internet Group to the top 10 today. Number 6, Circle, 446 on the tape. Let's just look really quickly, see what folks are up to, because they haven't really had much chance to analyze Circle. 47,000 of the 200 puts going up for number one. So are folks fading the hell out of these? Interesting. And number two, 24, almost 25,000 of the 180 puts. By the way, the stock 267 and a quarter, up $27 exactly, or 11.25% today. So popping hard for Circle. And then number three, we have what I expected, the June par. By the way, these are all expiring this Friday. So people are expecting big things. 180, 200 puts, and then the 300 calls, all going up today for size 1, 2, and 3. My goodness, they're expecting this thing to just be literally lit on fire in one direction or the other. Either way, number 6, Circle. Welcome to the top 10. Probably not for the last time out there, listeners. Number 5, where are we at? Number 5. It's the Fruit Company. Uncle Mike was just talking about them. 522 on the tape for the Fruit Company. 201.5, up about half a buck today, or about 0.25%. Not much action in the land of the Fruit Company. Number 4, I think some folks in our pro chat will be excited by this. Can't remember the last time they joined us in the top 10. It's HIMSS. HIMSS, 541 on the tape. Oh my goodness, 42.75 off 21.5% or $21.50 or 33.5%. My goodness. Novo Nordisk ended their deal with them. Man, someone was just talking about overwriting the 63s on oddities on Friday, and they were in the money. Wow, hey. Whoever that was in our chat, congrats to you. You got the heck out of Dodge at exactly the right time. My goodness. Those calls were in the money just on our last session. My goodness. Wow, HIMSS, number 4, 541 on the tape. I have a feeling if I run that analysis, it's going to be a boatload of puts. What do you think, listeners? Let's do it really quickly. Yeah, the 40 puts, 30,000 of those bad boys going up today for the number 1 spot. Again, going out this week. My goodness, HIMSS. They should change the ticker to Dumpster Fire. Number 3, AMD, 602 on the tape. 129 in the third, up $1.10. Good for 602 on the tape. And the number 3 spot, normally NVIDIA coming in at number 3 would be interesting, but we're moving on to number 2. Also interesting because it's not Tesla. It's NVIDIA, 1.4 million. So kind of a quiet day in NVIDIA land. 144.5, up about 2/3 of a buck, or a little bit less than 0.5%. That means the big dog is Tesla. 354.60, up 32.5 bucks, or 10%, pretty much exactly. 2.91 million contracts on the tape for them. They unveiled their self-driving taxis out there in Austin, out there today. So I guess that's something. The flat fare is $420. Only Musk would sell a flat fare of $420 for his freaking robo-taxis. But yes, that is where we are, listeners. Stock popping on that, because that's going to be a material impactor for Tesla, right? I mean, they're stretching for things to rally this on, but nonetheless, it's rallying. So if you're a Tesla bull, you're happy. In terms of action on the earnings front, not a heck of a lot going on, unless you're excited about FedEx after the bell on Tuesday, Carnival before the bell on Tuesday, whatever the hell BlackBerry is now, also I should say after the bell on Tuesday. Micron, there you go, after the bell on Wednesday. There's a little bit of action. Nike on Thursday. I'm looking for our old pal Helen of Troy. That's when we know that earnings season is officially over. And we got Helen of Troy rolling on to the tape. But it's time for us to roll on into the odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody. Let's get weird. Let's get wild. Let's maybe get whimsical. Because why not? It is time for the odd block. It's not called the normal block, listeners. Nope. It's the time to get weird and get wild. Let's get out to, I do believe this might be a newcomer. If we have talked about him, it's been quite some time. This is Zeta Global Hoarding. Easy for me to say. That'd be interesting name. Global Hoarding. I would buy that stock just to see what they're hoarding. But no, Zeta Global Holdings. Ticker symbol, appropriately enough, Zeta. Trading right now 16 and a quarter, up $2 exactly, or about 14.5%. So a good day for Zeta. And that's good, because otherwise they had a bad year going. They were $16 a year ago. They rallied all the way up to 38.20 in November. So right after the election, they were feeling the oats. Then they fell off a cliff. They went from 38.20 to 17 1/3 on November 14th. So in the span of 3 sessions, they got cut pretty much in half. My goodness. They tried to rally it a few times, December 5th up to 25.79, and then February 18th up to 24.69. Fell out of bed again, down to its low for the year on April 21st of 10.69. Since then, it's had a nice rally, including a nice rally over the last week. It was 12.5 bucks a week ago and popping hard, pretty much almost $4 over the past week out here. In Zeta Global Holdings, we've got analysts reiterating buy ratings out here, so folks are liking themselves some Zeta. What we saw paper-wise, though, Mr. Rock Lobster, maybe a little bit of a different story. We didn't see the traditional loading up on upside that you might see in a hot name that's popping hard, that's popping, a decent amount today, 14, almost 15%. Instead, we saw, looks like paper overwriting an in-the-money call spread. It was the 16-18 call spread going up 1,700 times. Looks like paper hitting the bid for 76 cents out here, listeners, doing them for 155 on the 18s and 231 on the 16s. Again, all opening there. And then, weirdly enough, so buying the 18s, obviously, listeners. And then looks like actually, this was before it, even about 30 minutes before that trade, which makes it even weirder. Someone bought the 20s for almost the same amount of size. They did 1,700 of the 16-18 call spread. Someone bought the 20s for 75 cents, nearly 1,700 times, about 1,600 times. And then, less than half an hour later, Mr. Rock Lobster, somebody came in and sold that 16-18 vertical for almost the exact same price, 76 cents, and almost the exact same size, 1,700 times. So it's one of those weird coinky-dinks out there. I'm not sure why you'd buy the 20s and then sell the 16-18 against it unless you really don't think this thing is running anytime soon, or you want to just pay nothing and really trade for the big upside pop. You want the old 1x2, a 1x2 stupid, I guess. Bit of a weird one, Mr. Rock Lobster. What are your thoughts on the vertical first off? Then do you think if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably related paper on the 20s, sir?
Well, I think the segment on this stock peaked when you called it Zeta Hoarding. I think that was the peak.
That was pretty good. I would buy it if it was Zeta Hoarding right now.
That was the peak.
There's like this parent company that show hoarders. They finance hoarding the storage.
This is just again, I don't see why you sell the 16-18 for a credit and then you go buy the 20s okay, but where's the money? I don't get where the money is. You would have to be so tricky as to close the 16-18, then get a bounce to make the 20s pay. So I'm just going to say it's a bit of a head scratcher. I don't have any, the fact that it's up $2. Here, I got to read this one more time because did they sold the call spread. That had to be a roll. There's no way yeah. I don't know. It's all kind of new paper.
It's all opening, which makes it weird.
Yeah, this is definitely a Henry special. I do not know. It's all scratching my head on this one. Maybe, the call spread as an overwrite with the stock trading $18. That doesn't make 16-18. I can see how that could be an overwrite. I could see how the 20s. But, what do you do with the 20s? And there's 11,000 of them going up. So very, very, very odd. Maybe they're doing it on a ratio where they sold 3 and sold 1 and bought 3. I think that could be possible, but very head scratching type trade. So you sell very head scratching. That's all I can say on that one.
You're doing a VIX style ratio upside trade
right. And well, there is open interest on the July 15 option. So if I had to put, but it's on the 15s, not the 16s. So, yeah.
It looks,
I don't know.
You're right. It looks like they have done more since the show started. A total of 4,000 of the vertical against over 11,000 of the 20s. So maybe they are just selling but still, you're doing it on a ratio now, so that gets rid of the price thing. The whole thing is wild. They're legging into a Tosaw style stupid to the upside with a ratio kicker.
Yeah, I'm just going to go on a limb and say this is not a trade construction that Tosaw would spend a lot of time doing. But
I think they thought they were trading VIX, and instead they were trading Zeta Hoardings. They know what they heard that, and they wanted to hoard all of the 11s for themselves. That's what they were doing. Yes. Or the 20s, the 20s, yes. Dang.
I can't, all we could say is, for the listeners, the thing to pay attention to, I would say, would be the 20 calls. They paid 75 for them, it appears, and now they're 55.60. So that's, there's the mark of just getting smeared right away when you first buy the calls. So apparently they bought them into something and into news, and then they got smashed in the face. So again, I'm not the biggest fan of buying the rumor or buying the news type of trade on buying calls on an uplift like that. But I spent most of my life selling calls into those updrafts, mostly delta neutral. I like that as a trade, but not very retail friendly. But once you learn how to do it, you like it a little better. But yeah, I don't know what the heck they're doing here.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest. They just got smeared on the 20s.
Wild stuff. Yeah, they paid 75 cents. And now they gotta love them at 55, right? Jeez, wow. Rough stuff here, listeners. Spoiler alert, don't do this. Don't do these types of constructions. Let's keep rolling. Let's go back to the land of the Appian Way list. I haven't talked about this one in a long time. This is Appian Corp, ticker symbol APPN. Of course, let's go the Appian Way here. They're a cloud computing name out of Virginia, trading 27.81, off about 40 cents, or about 1.4% today. Let's see, on the year, it's been very much up and down year. High of 43 1/3. That was back in right after the election, so they were feeling the juice as well. The low of $24 looks like that came right around the April 8th meltdown. Since then, they've kind of vacillated in between a number of times. They're almost literally unched on the year. In fact, today's sell-off, about 39 cents, brings them down pretty much. Today's move makes them red for the year now. They're off about 1/3 of a point, or about 1% on the year. So all that up and downside, nearly 20 handle range to settle out to pretty much nothing right now. And it seems like, Mr. Rock Lobster, somebody's going for a little bit of upside here. They're going back to the Appian Way, but they're doing it, again, in a kind of a weird manner, listeners. They came in with the stock at about $28. They said, hey, AUG 25s, how are they? So obviously about $3 in the money. And the market they got was 320 at 450, which, again, in the money options. You got to expect that a little bit. It's also Appian Way, or Appian Corp, so not going to be the most liquid of names. And they said, you know what, I will trade 1,600 of those bad boys at $4.10, which is pretty much exactly mid-market. The stock at the time was $27.95, so they were obviously worth a $2.95, so the $1.15 over for those calls. I'll let you decide if that was an overwrite candidate or if they perhaps were swinging for the fences. They are getting earnings in this expiration cycle. Earnings are on August 7th, so maybe that changes your viewpoint of this trade. Mr. Rock Lobster, what do you think they were up to? Are they loading up on the upside in Appian Way, or are they aggressively overriding some in-the-money calls, sir?
Well, let's take a look-see here. And Appian Way, it is kind of a random just chunk of paper. Like, there's no open interest, and they're trading 1,600 in-the-money calls. So that was 29.10. They traded them over. Let's see, how much over parity is that?
$1.15.
Stock. Huh?
$1.15. The stock was $27.95.
$1.15 over. Yeah, I mean, I would say at that price, paper probably buying. The liquidity provider might be able to part with a couple, $1.15 over. So I don't think that's unreasonable a sale. I think just somebody wants to buy calls. And you know what? I like they're doing a little dip buying. Stock was $33. All of a sudden they get kind of smashed up a little bit. And yeah, so again, a little, I think a little scoop in the bottom, and they're just buying the calls instead of stock. Maybe a stock replacement, possibly.
What do you think, listeners? You like going down the Appian way for an in-the-money call? Hit us up, let us know, as it's time for us to keep going down the way of strategery. Yes, it is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Strategy Block, the portion of the show where Uncle Mike takes the reins. You know, he's been stewing all show. He's really weighing in on himself. He's debating internally. Should I keep going with the orange strategy, or should I change it up? Maybe go a little pink. Dare I say it, brown? Mr. Uncle Mike, well, what is the decision? And then what else you got for us in the Strategy Block this week?
Well, I mean, it's one thing that I'm finding is that sports and leisure is really not my, it's not really sports. And so I guess you could call bullfighting sport.
How dare you call bullfighting and wrist wrestling not sports, sir?
Well, let me rephrase that. Knowledge of Hemingway is not my strong point. I mean, I'm a much more highly cultured person, and the professional wrestling is a little bit more highbrow. I don't do the lowbrow stuff like Andrew delves in with literature like Hemingway. So I mean, I have to kind of revamp it. Andrew's rather unsophisticated with stuff like that when he doesn't understand professional wrestling, whereas I'm more sophisticated in my knowledge of trivia. So I need to rework this a little bit, but don't worry, listeners. I will be back. I will be working on this. We'll get it done. In terms of the strategy, this is part 2 of the box spread. Last week, we talked about a box spread in terms of how if you do a long call spread and long put spread at the same strikes, you're creating a guaranteed winner. And that's not a lie. Yes, I did say that. However, the guarantee is not very exciting because you're typically only going to get a guaranteed winner of maybe 10 basis points above what the government treasury is on that. So it's something to look at, something to consider. There's definitely a market for that. If you want a little bit of a guarantee that's better than a CD and you're willing to go to the option market for your guarantee as opposed to the FDIC, it's definitely something to consider. Now, who's going to take the other side of that trade? If it's a guaranteed winner, why on earth would I take the other side of it? Well, financing, that's why. So this is a true story. A client emailed me last week, asking, hey, I'm looking to maybe take some money out of my home equity to do some repairs on my home. And what do you think about that? I'm like, well, you could, but right now HELOC rates are probably around 9-10%, something like that. Maybe a little bit less with the bonds rallying recently, but you're going to be paying that. However, let's say that you want something fixed for over the course of the year, and you do have a significant stock holding. Well, another thing you could do is you could just take money out of your brokerage account, assuming it's a margin account, and your broker is going to charge you margin interest. That's going to be probably 9-10%. Margin interest is not deductible. It is deductible up till the amount of income that you take in from your investments. So if you have zero dividend stocks, let's say, you're not going to be able to deduct your margin interest. However, if you have significant dividends, then you can offset it that way. But with that being said, something different that you could do if you'd like to borrow at that treasury rate that I just mentioned, or maybe 10 basis points above the treasury rate, you could actually sell a box spread. You could sell a call spread and sell a put spread at the same strikes. If you do it on the SPX or XSP or something along those lines, then it's European style. I would definitely not recommend doing it on individual stock. I would recommend doing it on a European style index so you don't get any early assignment snafus. But if you can go short a box spread, you're essentially getting that much buying power. You'll get a credit for that amount on that trade for the time frame that you want. Now, it is a guaranteed losing trade of 4% or whatever the box spread is paying at the time. but you get use of that capital at a significantly less of or a significantly lower interest rate than what you would on just taking a margin loan or a home equity loan. And here's the best part, that guaranteed losing trade, you get to deduct that as a loss on your taxes, whereas you don't get to deduct certain other forms of borrowing. So with that being said, if you do have significant stock holdings, you will not be able to create any more buying power than you had before. It won't work that way. But if you need financing for other things, then a short box spread is something to consider and very beneficial typically compared to most interest rates. Brokers typically don't like you doing them because they don't make any money off of it. But I value our listeners and would never tell them to go to HE double hockey sticks. And so this is a tool that you can have if you need financing for something. And that is the strategy for the day.
All right, listeners, now it's time for us to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, coming into the end of the show, we're seeing the markets tick into high gear. Looks like Iran fired missiles at one of our bases in Qatar. Usually that would be bad news, but kind of a minimal impact. So the market is hoping, looks like pricing in the fact that that's it. That's all Iran's going to do. They saved face, didn't really do a lot of damage. Maybe now we can move on to some more peace negotiations. Either way, S&P up about 0.7% right now. It's back up to about 6,009. NASDAQ up about 0.8%. Dow up about 0.2%. VIX coming all the way back down. We were at 21.5 to kick off the show, at about a 20.25 right now. So giving up pretty much all of that upside juice, which kind of raises the question we're asking you right now, listeners. As we talked about at the start of the show, does the U.S. entering this conflict over the weekend change your view on the vol impact of this clash? Remember last week, a little over half of you chose that the impact would be more than 30 days. We gave you three choices and the infamous other. Yes, there'd be greater vol impact. Yes, there'll be less of a vol impact, like the Rock Lobster was saying earlier. Or you really have no change to your outlook. Or you're just buying crude. And right now, 37.5% of you saying yes, it does change your outlook and it's going to be more of a vol impact. 25% say yes, it changes your outlook, but you're going the other way, less of a vol impact. 25% also saying you got no change to your outlook. And 12.5% say you want to just buy crude oil right now, which actually is going down the other way right now, just as a result of them not mining the Straits of Hormuz. So a lot of wild stuff out there going on. Let's go around the horn, see what everyone's keeping an eye on. Mr. Rock Lobster, what are you keeping an eye on until your next appearance on the old OB, sir?
I'm still trying to think when this volatility cycle is going to end. That started, you look at a chart of VIX and you're like, hey, when did this all go horribly wrong? I'm going to say I need to pull up the 20-day VIX chart, and that day is, yes, it was the 11th of June, and that apocryphal note went out, clear the embassies in the Middle East, all nons, you know. And ever since then, we have been in quite a market. So right now, I think the only thing that matters is the headlines, the Mideast headlines. That's it. Until we get out of this cycle, it's going to be going nowhere fast, I believe. Although trying hard to making a run here up another 100 points in SPX, it looks like today.
Yeah, wild stuff. And if folks want more wild stuff in the land of the pit, where should they go, sir?
Yeah, you want to trade all these vol products, 888-TRADE-01. Hey, trade options on stocks. How the option things work. Anyway, come check us out, optionpit.com.
And Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on until your next appearance on the old OB? And then where should folks go if they want more Uncle Mike goodness?
I agree with Andrew. The main thing right now is the headline risk that exists, but some other things that I am keeping an eye on, the 6,000 magnet with the S&P, maybe the bombs can break the magnet, who knows? One way or another, we'll see, for better or for worse. Continuing to watch bonds, I think that's important as well. And if someone is looking for a financial advisor that embraces the option product, assuming it's appropriate for the client, which it typically is, Check out my website, stcharleswealth.com. Book an appointment with me. We'd love to have a conversation with any of our listeners. You can also follow me on Twitter at Mike Tosaw.
Check them out. stcharleswealth.com is the place to go. Maybe you've got some pro tips for how he can dig himself out of the hole in the land of Trivial Pursuit. Hit him up. Let him know. I'm sure he'll appreciate them. That is going to do it for us on the old OB today. Back in a little bit with the land of crypto. What's popping off in the land of crypto, vol, and skew? Well, you got to tune into the Crypto Rundown to find out. That'll be coming up in a little bit. Tomorrow, we're going back across the pond, listeners, to the land of the European market brief. What markets, what products will be featured on the show tomorrow? What's lighting up our tape across the pond? Well, you got to tune into the European market brief to find out. It will be myself. It will be the Joan Rivers of the vol market, a.k.a. Dr. V Stocks, and other special guests who will join us. Got to tune in to find out. The newest addition to the network, the European market brief. Wednesday, of course, our usual doubleheader of the options boot camp. Might be a triple header, actually. Might do a double OBC, as well as, of course, the futures rundown after that. Then back again on Thursday, Flowmaster in hand. Another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.